Welcome to Sun Island. Today was a very interesting and thought-provoking conversation I had with a very ambitious entrepreneur, D. It was very entertaining that we ended up having to cut this specific episode into two. So this is going to be the first of two episodes that we're going to have with him basically sharing a wealth of knowledge with us.
Welcome to the Sun Island.
Welcome back to the Sun Island. Today we're here with D. D is a small business owner. He's been in the roofing industry for a while. And he's just stopping by to kind of share some knowledge with us, to kind of see where he's been and where he's going in the industry. D, kick it over to you real quick to kind of give us some more.
Thank you, Sheldon, and appreciate you for inviting me to the Sun Island. It's a very delightful pleasure.
Okay, sure, man. Welcome.
I think delightful and Sun Island go together.
Right.
No, so I've been a Houstonian for about 12 or 13 years now. I'm originally from Dallas, Texas, and come from a small town in South Dallas, Highland Hills, and most people know that from some songs, or maybe not. It's part of my generation.
Okay. Well, which song is that? Because I don't know that song.
We'll talk about that.
Okay.
Okay. But no. So from Dallas, I traveled here to Houston to go to University of Houston. Okay. So go Cougs. Yeah. I originally majored.
We're neighbors, by the way, because I went to TSU. So.
Oh, that's right. You did go to TSU. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we got a little rivalry thing going there too.
It's all good.
Right across Scott. So I originally came here to Houston for opportunity. I come from a close-knit family. A lot of us didn't travel a whole lot. And so initially when I moved to Houston, I moved here with a bag and a 2001 Kia Rio. Oh. I know it got me from A to B, but I don't know if it would have got me back to A. And it sure didn't get me back down to Z.
And this dude rolled up here with a brand new Tesla. And what did you came first with?
What's that on top?
What vehicle did you drove to Houston initially?
Oh, a 2001 Kia Rio.
And you rolled up here today in a brand new Tesla. Let's
2023.
Go. 2023.
A lot of work, man. A lot of work. Mm-hmm. Going through school, I worked 3 jobs.
Wow.
I was a bartender. I worked at Geek Squad for Best Buy for a little while.
I could see you working at Geek Squad.
You can see it?
Yeah, I could totally see it.
Hey, you ask some of the customers, I come out the back, they say, you don't look like a geek. I'm like, what does that mean?
Not like a geek, but you know what I mean? Like, you know your stuff.
Yeah, I majored in computer science, which is kind of weird on how it kind of segued me into the roofing world. Just attaining that degree and actually working with a couple companies as an implementation specialist and helping a lot of blue collar workers on the software side because of my intuition and intuitiveness of using software to help better essentially blue collar workflows in that regard.
So you did software engineering?
Just a basic computer science degree.
Computer science.
So when I actually got into the computer science field myself, I started doing web development. So I started my own company called, it was not a well thought out name, Bone IT Solutions.
Bone IT, let's go.
It's not Bone It. Business Optimization Networking Enterprises. It was named after my dog. We let that flow a couple years after I graduated and found out that didn't work out. As a young business owner here in Houston.
I see a thing, I'm just curious. I see a thing in the IT industry. They always like come up with clever little acronyms to name their product.
Hey, in the tech world, acronyms, it rules, man. If you don't know your acronyms, I feel sorry for you if you step into that realm.
It's like a whole different language, huh?
It's a whole different language. It's just like coding or anything else. A lot of computer science people have a lot of brain power and not enough time, so we got to shorten everything.
Cool. So you said you were helping like blue collar workers now with your expertise and.
Yeah, so the way that kind of developed, I started working at Sprint as one of the technical people in the back to fix the phones. It's sad I worked in a position, don't even remember the name of it. But I fixed cell phones for a couple of years, and I finally got an opportunity with a company out in Sugar Land, Texas, that did software for heavy civil construction. And I started as a regular customer service rep, and it's not necessarily where I wanted to be, but something that my mother always taught me, and my wife kind of instilled in me also, is that everything you do in life is a stepping stone, right?
Yeah, and you have a young little one. It's less than a year.
Two. Yeah, I got 2 under 2.
Congrats, man.
My son Nazir, his birthday is March 9th. Coming
Okay.
up in about 2 weeks.
Oh yeah, my wife is March 3rd.
March 3rd.
Yeah.
My mother's is March 6th.
Wow, so a lot of people shall already give it.
Pisces in there.
Yeah.
My daughter, she is 4 months.
So you got the
coming up on 5
perfect pair. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Man. That's
So I got 2 under 2. I might look a little tired.
It's all good.
But
You're doing
majority of that work, my lovely wife Kirsten, she takes care of the family, and she takes care of me and making sure the household is taken care of for sure.
Cool. So that's pretty neat, man. So you transitioned where you worked for Sprint for a while, fixing phone, and then how did you transition from that to end up being a business owner?
So when I started implementing, I didn't know what the heck I was doing. I talked to a lot of blue collar just workers, whether that's mechanics or pavers or just different personas in the heavy civil field. And along with that, I noticed myself picking up on a lot of these things really quickly. And a lot of reasons that I was able to envision myself as this business owner is because as I worked through the years in that field, I became the SME or the subject matter expert in a lot of these things.
Okay.
I started understanding bidding. I started understanding just basic workflow processes and why software in this industry itself would not only free up those blue collar workers to do what they love and help essentially build this country, but it also allowed them to grow, right? So in the midst of that, I noticed I was talking to not only blue collar workers, but white collar workers, including CEOs and CIOs. And I started teaching classes and courses. I've started teaching courses of executives up to like 60 people at a time. And I stepped back and I asked myself, man, like I must bring some type of value to have a room full of people, a sold out class to come from all across the country to hear what I'm saying. So after, the IT consulting company, I took another leap, right? I met an individual that helped me understand the roofing world, and I actually helped develop their web site for them and do the SEO and different things like that and some marketing. And just in the same sense of me picking up that knowledge on my regular job, I picked up a lot of roofing knowledge on just doing web development and putting everything together. So in the sense of that, a couple years go by and he says, D, I think you're ready. I say, what do you mean you think I'm ready? And then he says, I think you got this roofing thing down, So this individual is Billy Hood. He owns company Billy Hood and Associates here in the city of Houston. And essentially, he saw something in me in regards to what I can offer from a technical side of things, and also being in the field and working with him for a few years in the roofing industry. We felt like we could bring something different to the world with building, missing my intuitiveness from the technology aspect and his 30 plus years of experience in the roofing aspect. So I became a student to the game first.
Okay.
After we came up with a good concept and I worked the roofing industry a little bit longer. He gave me the opportunity to kind of take the wheels
And that logo it's lit, man. What was the inspiration behind that B in Buildy?
So during my web design days, and I had an aspiration to be a graphic designer also. I worked over and over to make something that actually stood out. I always wanted some type of mascot or something that if I could brand it and just put this symbol somewhere, kind of like Nike, right? People will know exactly what that is. So, I mean, this is just kind of what myself and my team came up with.
So, since we're on the topic of, and so basically Buildy was born. So, since we're on the topic of roofing, and we do create this podcast to kind of add as much value as we possibly can. We're just going to kind of run down some general questions as it relates to the roofing industry that folks that are out there that potentially come across us would get some questions answered from a technical expert like like yourself. And like one off the bat is like for this area at least, like what's the typical lifespan of a roof?
It can vary. As many people know, Houston and Texas in general, we have so many different climates and so many different ways you can adhere a roof, or how it's installed, or what the weather looked like that day, that year, or that month. But a typical roof, what we've seen, typically last anywhere from, it can be from 12 to 20 years.
Okay, pretty neat. And I've seen some weird stuff when it comes on to roofing, being, because we're in solar, and it kind of goes hand in hand with certain things. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more. But one specific experience I had, somebody was changing a roof, and they built an entire roof over a roof. Is that like, what's that?
Saving money.
I was like, this is weird.
So in relation to that can be kind of dangerous also, and it can cost you more money in the long run. So for a contractor like myself, if we see a built up roof like that on a residential home, you have to tear off more than one roof. I've seen up to 3. So now
3.
Yep.
Wow.
So it's a way to save money, because for one, you don't have the labor of tearing off the shingles, and then you don't have the cost of disposal or taking the shingles away. And at that point, we can essentially in the industry cut costs by not having to put in any underlayment or anything like that. We're just throwing new shingles on top of another set, which is, like I said, it's not recommended. Always get your roof done the right way. never throw shingles on top of shingles.
I would imagine that, man. So you just mentioned always have your roof done the right way. How will insurance be affected? Just first off, in general, I guess it's a 2-part. How does insurance play a role in getting your roof changed? And if you had a bad roofing job done, how does that affect insurance going in the future?
So insurance is going to cover any like peril damage. So wind, fire, hailstorms,
force majeure,
things like that. They won't cover anything because something was installed bad. Right.
Okay. Well, that answered the question.
Yeah. So in relation to that, if you take a shortcut, it's cheaper, and you just want to stop a leak or get just a new covering on. You might save some money in the forefront, but you can cost yourself a lot of money in the long run by taking shortcuts. Most people don't realize that the roof itself is probably one of the most expensive components on the structure of your home. So it's something that you definitely want to take care of. And I don't think many people think about their roof, because how often at your own home do you get a ladder and get up there and check to make sure all your flashings are good, any caulking, or has anything rusted or anything like that. A lot of people don't do that, and it's fair, which is why companies like Buildy and there's other companies out there that do it also. They do what's called RAMP programs. So,
RAMP?
Yeah, RAMP.
Okay.
Yes.
What is that?
So that's a roof asset management program. So many people don't really enroll into a lot of business individuals do. But as Ability, we're trying to come up with a residential maintenance program essentially to help customers maintain and continue the maintenance on their roof to save them money in the long run. You get a lot of individuals that try to throw out, hey, you need to replace your roof before it actually needs to be replaced.
Interesting.
So with things like that, we can go up and check flashings, make sure all penetrations are good. If there's any nails that are backed out from the welder, we can fix that, and then we can give your roof a grade.
Okay.
So to kind of help the customer know that, hey, you know, your roof has about 10 more years left on it. That way, so now you're in the know. You're not getting swindled out of buying a new roof immediately. And ultimately, you have that peace of mind knowing that, hey, I had everything stitched up. I have a warranty. And we're good to go.
Yeah. So you touched on two things earlier. You said some homeowners just aren't aware of the cost or expensive a roof could be. Any general cost-wise, what that would be? Just general?
It's all based on a couple components. It's obviously based on how large the house is, how steep the pitch is on the roof. So the steeper the roof, the more labor is most likely going to cost because it's a more dangerous job. But a roof can cost anyone anywhere from $10,000. We've had jobs all the way up to about 50 or 60 grand to replace a roof, and that's with a standard asphalt shingle.
Understood.
If you want to get fancy, you're starting to look at about $80,000 to $90,000, depending on.
So do you guys do all different, like metal roof, tile roof,
metal, tile, flat roofs, low slope?
So if it's a roof, you guys get it up there.
Liquid applied, asphalt shingles, 3-tab shingle.
Okay. There's a type of roof I came across, and is a 3-letter word. And earlier on in my solar career, I came up across it. I just can't describe it. I don't know the name of it. It has like 12 by like huge beams, right? And then it's like a hard surface, some surface at the bottom, like a plywood or whatever, some foam in the middle, and another
substrate.
It's called what?
I'm just saying you have your substrate in the middle.
Yeah, and then another hard surface, and sometimes they like asphalt.
It's a commercial roof?
No, this one was not commercial. Actually, it was a residential home. It was in the Heights, right here in Houston, in the Heights.
Okay.
But back then the solar companies didn't even want to touch those, simply because they were less than 10 degrees slope. And I think it was just the makeup of the entire
because it's
thing.
Flat, and it would it not catch the sun?
Not necessarily wouldn't catch the sun earlier on, because the thing is, back then there was a lot of things that they started doing now that they would disqualify jobs for.
Gotcha.
So I don't think it's an issue now, because I've got deals that got installed on a flat roof. It's no problem. But back then it was just that was a thing. I was just trying to figure out that type of roof. But you did mention maintenance.
Correct.
If you spend $30K on a roof, $15K on a roof, or whatever you may spend on a roof, you're investing in your property. What should I, as a homeowner, make sure I do to make sure that product lives as long as it possibly can? What are some of the things for maintenance?
It all starts with the contractor, right? For one, in this market, a lot of people are selling their homes, and roof is one of those things that you always want to ask questions about before you purchase a home. And things like the underlayment, making sure it's synthetic, what components of the roof actually new. Did the last time it was actually tore off, did they replace everything? Did they put new lead jacks in? And if that roof is adhered well, and like I said, based on the climate previously, there shouldn't be much you would need to do as a homeowner, other than, like I said, the general maintenance. I would check every year just to make sure.
I'm gonna be a little bit of a devil's advocate on this one, because again, roof and solar, it's kind of like very, it's on the roof, right? Earlier on, again, because mind you, I'm going on almost a decade now in this space, earlier on, it was like a thing where we would approach roofers and they just freak out. They just don't like solar, man.
Yep.
Why?
Because
Just explain to me. Because I was like, because like they literally freak out. I'm like, what's going on? Talk to me.
Because sometimes some of you guys get up there and put holes in our roof. So essentially what happens is, and this happens on commercial properties also with HVAC companies or anything like that. You get up there, let's just say we just put a new roof on, and theoretically, you go up there, you have to adhere the panels to the decking most likely through the shingle. So if you put a hole in the shingle and it rains and it leaks, guess what? Who gets called? The roof. Yeah. So now this customer that just spent $15,000, $20,000 on their roof, or depending on if they use insurance and their deductible, they've spent $5,000 to $10,000 on their roof. They're like, hey, you just put this roof on and it's leaking. Mm-hmm. The leak doesn't connect with the solar company. If I have a leak, I call a roofer. So now it just causes frustration with the customer because now we kind of do the dance of, hey, no, I put the roof on right. I didn't cause the leak. It was the adherence of the solar panel. And it's not just solar either. It's things like satellite companies, for instance. They do the same thing. When we take satellites off the roof for our customer, we have them call the satellite company and say, hey, can we adhere this to the fascia and not on the roof? Just to make sure you get as much out of that roof as possible.
Yeah. And I would say for credible, solar companies, a lot of them actually have roof penetration warranties, right? Yeah. So if they end up penetrating that roof, because no companies are perfect. I've seen it before where they're trying to find a stud. Mm-hmm. They miss the stud. They miss the stud. It's a flat out hole right there, right? Yeah.
It's just oops.
They use you probably know the better term for it, but they use like a silicone or some type of adhesive.
Yeah, it's
that have like a 30-year life on it. Mm-hmm. Yes. So the good and it's like every every expertise, right? Mm-hmm. You got great electrician, you got not so great electrician. Yeah. You have a company.
Don't want those. You start a fire with them.
You got great roofers. You have not so great roofers. Yeah. You have great solar installers. You have not so great, right? So that's why it's always imperative that homeowners do their due diligence, right? Mm-hmm. Know who they're working with to make sure that the equipment that they're putting on their home actually does the job, right?
Correct.
So those are actually really great points that you brought up. What I have seen though, transforming now the last 4 or 5 years, mm-hmm. roofers now are actually trying to get in solar. Why the shift?
Well, the big thing is boots on the roof, right? Before you install any type of solar panel, you always want to make sure that the thing that you're adhering to or your shingles can take the solar. So just imagine, just think of a story here. You call the solar company Sun Island. Sun Island, does their due diligence. They're probably going to tell you, hey, before we adhere anything to this roof, let me get my roofer to look at it to make sure that we get longevity of having these panels up here. For some companies that may not do that, they'll install the solar panel, and next thing you know, I got to get my roof replaced. Yeah. So then you call Buildy, and Buildy says, hey, Mr. or Mrs. Johnson, do you have solar panels? I say, yes, I do. Well, you might want to call that solar company to take it off.
Take it off, right.
Right. So now, and in your space, I don't know, and I'm pretty sure it is a charge. It's labor, to get everything off, and then you have to get it back up there after everything is done. So that coordination and different things like that, it's a little bit easier for a roofer to get into the industry because now we can go in and get you the latest and greatest shingle that can hold the weight and the distribution of the solar panels, and give you a long-lasting roof, including with that maintenance, to make sure you don't have to go through the troubles of getting the panels off, replacing the shingles, and doing it all.